Shawne, lights out, America. Can we get a little bit?
I got to warm up a little bit, man. I'm not as young as I was.
Hey, Shawne, you look like you could still play, man. I don't know about that. I think you're still a superstar.
Thanks, man. Look, I all this walking around, I'm like, I need to ice up my knees and everything else. It's funny, as I was walking in the building just now, I saw somebody doing lights out dance across the street. They're like, do it. And I was like, listen, I got to warm up, all right? I can't just jump right into that anymore.
Shawne, are you still doing the MMA training? Does that get your body ready going?
Yeah, man. I've been training MMA for, almost 17 years now during the off season, and really more so just to stay in shape. I think it's important for any former athlete to have some kind of discipline when they're done. It could be MMA or jiu-jitsu, boxing. Just pick up a combat sport, because it's not like I can go out and play tackle football anymore. So just stay doing something and competing.
Go ahead, Fernando.
Shawne, talk about Lights Out Extreme Fighting. I mean, that's something that I know you've been very passionate for years. I mean, I remember back in your days when you were even a football player, you loved, I feel like that was kind of your thing too. You loved MMA, all that other stuff. But just talk about that league and just how it's going.
Yeah, so my love for MMA has been around for a long time. But in 2018, I launched Lights Out Extreme Fighting. We're now on Fubo Sports, Fubo TV. So if you don't have Fubo, get it. We just had a big fight January 14th in Riverside, and we blew that place up. We actually moved in the top 10 all-time most watched on Fubo Sports, and so that was cool, because we're up there with like international soccer, which is like insane.
Yeah.
And it's been fun for me, because we get these young up and coming fighters an opportunity, and I'm looking to get fights down in San Diego, some here soon too. Looking at some venues and try to get a fight out there May or June if I can pull it off.
Just talk about how tough it has been. I mean, starting a company from scratch, doing what you're doing, just how tough has it been? How tough has the journey been to get this going and into the success that it is now, and where you're planning to take it to the next level?
I used to hear the quote of people that say, it's not work if you love doing it. And, for me, when you leave the locker room, you'll talk to any one of these guys, former athletes, first thing they'll tell you is, they missed the locker room, they missed the guys. And so for me, I get a chance to be around these crazy fighters all the time, just talking trash and working with them. Sometimes I'll jump in a fight camp for a couple of days and just train and stuff like that. So that's how I'm able to stay with it. Now, on the other side of it, you're looking at the lights and the production and the satellite trucks and, people coming in. You got, 1,000, 2,000 plus people walking in, buying tickets. And I've always been about the fans too, man. Like, the fans really drive everything. And so that's why I've always spent a lot of time just fan engagement, even talking trash to some of the Raiders fans, obviously. That's my favorite, one of my favorite things.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you?
That's the next question, Shawne. How did that come about, you and the Raider fans? It's like a rivalry there.
Oh, that's never going away. As long as there's social media around, it's never going to stop either, because there's an equal amount of hate to go around. But I mainly just give them crap 2 times a year when they play in the Chargers, obviously. But I really do guess, everything that happens now is about the fans. If we got people that listen to the show, it's the fans, right? If people download it or they're listening to it live or whatever it is, they're listening to it because they like the product. They like what you guys are talking about. So, that rivalry with the Raiders is never going away. I can tell you that.
I told them Raider Week was something unique when a couple of years. I mean, when you
because Marty,
exactly
right? Marty shot. So I didn't know. Right, when I got drafted by the Chargers, I'm like, okay, the Raiders in the division, I can see you hate them, right? Marty, like, no, this is a different level of hate. And so I just remember when we played them, the intensity of practice that week. Guys were tackling, like taking guys to the ground. I'm like, hold on, when do we start tackling in practice? And Raider Week was just a different level of just the hatred that was there. And he really, Marty Schottenheimer instilled that in all of us, really.
Shawne, let me ask you about this current Chargers team. 2022, they made the playoffs, but that game in Jacksonville, I'm not sure if it still stings you. But watching this team, kind of their, some struggles getting to the playoffs, was that what you liked at least, or were you thinking, man, it could have been so much more?
Well, I turned the game off when they got 20-something nothing. So I had our fight. We had our fight in Riverside the same night as the game, and so I had people there playing it live on their phones. And then, I'll come over every 5 minutes or every, between a fight, I'll come and check, hey, what was the score? Oh, it's 14 of them, 17 of them, 20. Okay, cool. And I stopped basking, right? I completely okay, cool, the game is over. The fight ends up being over, and I had about 5, Chargers fans and friends of mine who came up to me, and they said, you'll never guess. I was like, oh, my God, Justin Herbert's hurt? I think is somebody injured, right? Did somebody go down? They said no. The Chargers lost. I said no way. It's impossible. It's impossible. So yeah, that stung because they really do have a great team all around, and to see them go out like that, it beat us all up.
Shawne, a lot of Justin Herbert received a lot of unwarranted hate last year. Media members, other people coming out about him. What have you made about Justin Herbert?
Well, look, it's the same thing that I think we all dealt with Phillip because he didn't win a ring, right? So if you put Phillip Rivers' stats up against anybody that's in the Hall of Fame, he deserves to be in there, no question about it. But it's always going to be that factor with Phil and now with Herbert to see how far he can win in the playoffs, because they got it. I mean, they got a squad all the way around from every single position. They got guys who can go out and play, but until they get over that hump, that weight is not going to be off his back. But look at his stats. Look what he's done in this short period. I mean, he's holding records. He's set records that's never been done in the National Football League. So I guess that people always find a stat to make their point make sense, and that's what they're always going to use.
Shawne, one question about the Chargers defense, the Brandon Staley, Joey Bosa, Derwin James, Khalil Mack. The names sound pretty nice, but what did you see about this Brandon Staley scheme kind of developed throughout the whole year?
Well, I think they made the appropriate adjustments with the new coaches they brought in. It's kind of hard not to be successful when you got the guys that you name. I mean, Derwin James, I've never seen anything like that. And I played with some guys before. I played with, freakish athletes. Cromartie was a freakish athlete. Derwin James is a monster. It's something we haven't seen it. And so they had a ton of injuries also. I mean, they was the most injured team in the National Football League at one point. And for them to get in the playoffs was already like, oh my God, these guys got in the playoffs. That's next to impossible. The probability of that many injuries and still getting into the playoffs. So I give them credit, and that's why I give Brandon Staley credit for getting them there. But I think that the hump that they need to get over is what they did during the offseason already and bringing in Kellen Moore. I think that's going to do wonders for this team. We saw what Kellen Moore did with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott ain't on the same level as Justin Herbert. I'm sorry, Dallas Cowboys fans, but he's not. He ain't even close either of their capabilities. He's not bigger, stronger, faster, nothing more than Justin Herbert. So what Kellen Moore is going to be able to do that offense is going to be legendary, I believe.
Shawne, I got a quick question for you. We were there. Him and I were brothers. We were at ECW One Night Stand back in 2006 when you got the kendo stick, and I don't remember who you hit on top.
It was WWE.
Yeah, it was WWE.
Yeah.
I can't remember who you hit.
Chavez.
Yeah. Chavo Guerrero.
Yes.
Guerrero.
Yes.
And you
Guerrero.
hit him over, and you hit the lights out. What WWE? I feel like that's another kind of you like some stuff like that, but just talk about that night.
Yeah. So when they called me to do it, obviously it being in San Diego and me growing up the biggest WWE fan there is. I mean, I was team WWE for life. So when they called me to do that and we're rehearsing, I said, "Hey, I'm going to whack you. I just want you to know I'm going to." He said, "No, you got to do it." I said, "Don't worry, I'm going to do it." So that was big. And then that kind of led to me doing hosting a WWE WrestleMania in New Orleans, which was an experience that I can't even really describe in words, because you're sitting up there with Booker T, right, Shawn Michaels, Mankind. And I just remember being on set, and I got my earphones in, and I got my notes up here, and I'm ready to go. And they brought out Hulk Hogan, and they played this music. I'm like, okay, I'm being a fan a little bit. I'm working. Oh, yeah. I need to relax, right? And then they brought out Stone Cold Steve Austin. I heard the glass break, and dun dun dun. I'm on set, and I'm fidgety, right? I can't stop moving at this point. And finally, I calm back down, and all you heard is, "If you smell," I said, "That's it. I'm out." Right? I can't. We were live on air, and I took my earphones out and I watched it. And I said, "I'm not missing this." This is it was one of the best moments. I got a chance to train out there to perform in a performance center in Orlando with Triple H, Hunter, and all these guys. I got a chance to work with a lot. Dusty Rhodes was down there before he passed. We sat around and talked for 3 hours about football in the office. So I got some, really good experience with that.
Shawne, these stories are great, but I know you're busy. But one more question. 57, Eagles, Chiefs. Can I put you in the spot? Who's going to win this game?
I'm taking the Eagles. I think the Eagles are the best team in football. They don't just they're not great at one position. They're great at a lot of positions. They have the deepest defensive line that we've ever seen in the last decade. Whenever you got Pro Bowlers and All Pros and future Hall of Famers coming off the bench, you're in trouble. And as great as Patrick Mahomes is, and he is great, him and Kelsey are one of the best duos we're going to see for a long time. But I don't think that they can find a way to beat this fully stacked Philadelphia Eagles team.
Shawne, thank you so much for joining. That's Shawne Lights Out Merriman joining Compas on the beat. Thank you so much, Shawne.
Thanks for having me.